When your pet dies, do you bury them or cremate them? I'm going to be talking all about this in this next episode. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. This is a bit of a more serious topic. It came up because one of my last dog, Lewis's buddies, her name is Pearl, she recently died and her owners went through this very same decision. You know, I've gone through that decision, I'm sure many of you guys have, and I thought it was important to make a video on it. First, I wanted to show you guys a picture, and I'm hoping you can see it there. There's Pearl, she's the yellow lab, she's cuddled up to Lewis. He's her black lab cross. Those guys, they were two inseparable buddies. They were awesome. I mean, Lewis was a puppy when he came to our house. He's about 8 weeks old. Pearl and Wes and Abby were our immediate neighbors. She was still a pup. I think she was less than a year, around 6 months of age. So they really grew up together, and that's kind of been was Lewis's formative years, is learning what he learned from Pearl. And throughout their entire lives, until Lewis died, which is about a year ago, I mean, they were like the best of friends. I hope it's going to be several years until, I have to even think about that with Tula. She's middle-aged, she's young, she's healthy. But fortunately, all of our animals, none of them have really long lifespans. If a dog lives till 20, that's like considered so old. So I know it's something I'll have to deal with again, as all of you probably have dealt with. It's a pretty hard decision. It's not something that's really discussed until sort of it happens, or a dog or cat dies and you're left with that decision. I mean, do you cremate your animal, or do you have the option to bury them? And what do you think of that? So I'm just on the outside of our house, and just up in here behind me you can see a small apple tree, a cedar tree, and up in there I've been fortunate to be able to, or unfortunate, or at least being able to bury all of our pets. So when Cleo died about 2 years ago, then our guinea pig Oreo died. I mean, all these guys were older. Cleo was 15, Oreo was like 8 or 9, I think she was almost 10, which was really old for a guinea pig. And then Gussie, who was 20, she died. And around that time, Jesse, who was 16 or 17, he died. And then, last year, last winter, Lewis died, and he was 14. And then now up in behind me as well is now Pearl. So I can draw on my own experience, and yes, I've had many animals cremated in terms of veterinary practice wise, and discussed it with many people, and for many cases it's just really an individual decision. One, would you have your animal buried or cremated? For many people, you're living in a city, you don't have that option. It's really, what is your option? It's cremation. Some places now are looking at pet cemeteries, areas where even an animal can be buried, or at least their ashes, and you can go and honor them. It makes huge sense to me to have that option now. And some of you are in my case where you have a little bit of property and you're able to have your animal buried. I mean, I think ultimately it's an individual decision, but when I think about cremation, it is, maybe it's more practical in some sense, in terms of you're not, putting an animal into the ground with ethanol in them, and you're not taking a whole giant amount of space. But it is, a big thing in terms of you're putting your animal, even though they've just died, in this big furnace, and there's all the heat, and they're turned into ash. So honestly, I can see both sides. I can see the reason where there's people who are uncomfortable with having their animal cremated, and would prefer to have having their animal buried. Likewise, I can see some of the issues around burying animal. It's not just sort of a clear cut, like here's the right decision, and ultimately it comes up to you and what you're more comfortable. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? The whole issue around burial or cremation, what's ultimately right for you? What do you think is the right decision or not? Or is it really just an individual, personal choice to make? I think most pet parents, such as yourselves, are pretty serious about the decisions they're taking about their pets, especially after their dogs or their cats die, and you put a lot of thought into it. I'm encouraging you to think ahead of time. Don't sort of be rushed into a decision where something happens to your dog or cat. You're at the vet clinic and you're like, I've got to make this decision. Just put a little thought into, what would you like to happen to your dog or cat? How do you best want to honor them afterwards? Is there an option to have something such as a pet cemetery, to have your dog or cat buried somewhere? Or at the very least, have their ashes spread somewhere. That's going to sort of help you deal with your grief, your own grief, help you remember them in the best way that you can. Thanks again for watching. This is Dr. Andrew Jones. Once again, I'd love to hear your feedback. So please leave comments, your thoughts on what we discussed today. What makes sense to you.